All right, free agency is done. Most of the crazy trades we believe are out of the way.
That's right.
And now it's time to give us all a reality check, okay? We're giving landing spots for these rookie wide receivers after free agency. What are some realistic landing spots? Now it feels like a more realistic opportunity to, I guess, project that. We did a part 1 to this video already where we had Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Treylon Burks. And now we are doing the next set of wide receivers. So if you want to, hear about those guys, watch that video first. The first wide receiver we're talking about today is George Pickens.
Yep.
Okay. We said this from day one, but Pickens could easily slip into the first round. I remember saying that back in January, and I still believe that that's the case. I still believe that he can slip into the first round. So looking at the first round, I think it's end of the first round, but there's a couple teams that make sense for me there. One, the Green Bay Packers with one of their picks, maybe pick 28, right before Kansas City. Or if they don't take Pickens, maybe the Kansas City Chiefs at round 1, pick 29. I also think if he falls into the second round, the Houston Texans at 37 and the Chicago Bears at pick 39 make a lot of sense. Now, we'll give our one most realistic landing spot here in a second, but is there any other teams that I missed that you can think of?
No, I completely agree. I do believe he will go in the first. Once again, this is a realistic takes. So I try to be like, okay, if these guys don't take him in the first, where in the second they're going to go? And that's, once again, the Green Bay Packers, that maybe they don't go their wide receiver. They go one wide receiver in the first, and then they go somewhere else in the second. The Chicago Bears, I actually don't mind in the second.
I have that same one too.
The Jets, if they pass up on Drake London in the second round, I mean, we're not high on Drake London. We're high on George Pickens. So, and then the Detroit Lions in the early second round as well. They also need a big X wide receiver. So those are my most likely landing spots in the second round for those guys.
I have an entire rant for my one most likely landing spot, and I have some really big news to share. But I want you to go first. What is your most likely landing spot? If you had to pick one, you could go many different places, but if you had to pick one right now, what's your most likely landing spot?
If I had to pick one, it had to be the Green Bay Packers. Okay, yes, they have 2 firsts right now, but I do believe maybe in that 22nd pick they go Chris Olave. I think we talked about Chris Olave, Jahan Dotson in the past, and then in the 22nd pick, and then the 28th pick, they'll probably go defensive. Maybe offensive line, whatever the case may be, and then goes George Pickens in the second round with the 53rd pick. This makes sense.
Might have to move up if they want to do that, though.
Yeah, they might have to, but I think this makes sense because once again they get the wide receiver, they get an offensive line or defensive line, and they do go back-to-back wide receivers potentially, but it's only in the second round. It's a round later. So why not get the big body aggressive George Pickens, the guy that can bring some nasty to the game? You have Chris Olave on the other side, whoever the case may be. Jahan Dotson on the other side with George Pickens, who could play the Devontae Adams role. That can be that X wide receiver, the guy that Aaron Rodgers is going to take. Yeah. There's no doubt about it that if he goes to the Green Bay Packers, he will be a top 3, top 4 pick in Dynasty.
Okay. So I'll say firstly, I don't think, if he gets out of the first round, there's no way he lasts till pick 58. I'm just gonna be honest.
No, for sure.
There's no way he lasts.
I think so too, and I think there's no other teams. I feel like in between
there's so many teams I think in the second round that could take him, like Jacksonville, Detroit, the Jets, like we talked about, Houston, Chicago.
Those are the guys that I have.
Chicago's sitting there at 39.
It looks really good.
They need help. So anyway, all right. Let me go on a rant here for a second.
Okay.
The Chiefs at round 1, pick 29 are my most realistic landing spot. I don't think they make this Tyreek Hill trade unless they really think they can get a true impact wide receiver 1 in this year's draft. Okay? And if they're on the board there at 29 and George Pickens is staring at them, I don't know how they pass it up. I don't know how they would pass up that connection.
Well, they got to pass it up twice. They got 29 and 29 and 30.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. But I'm predicting 29 or 30 that he goes there. Is George Pickens Tyreek Hill? Of course he isn't. There's only one Tyreek Hill. You don't try to replace Tyreek Hill. That doesn't happen.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
However, George Pickens is a special player, and he has all the tools to be an alpha wide receiver in the NFL. Like I said before, what am I going to say? Pablo Picasso was born to paint. George Pickens was born to play wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
There is still speed on this team, by the way. Yes, Tyreek's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Not every team has that insane package of speed, great route running, separation of Tyreek Hill, but they still have speed on this team, and McCole Hardman, in MVS. So don't expect them to just look at speed in this year's draft.
Okay.
Now you give Mahomes a young wide receiver to grow with for the next decade, and he fully fits this timeline of the Kansas City Chiefs. This could be a special connection for years and years to come. Mahomes to Pickens. I could just see this being a special connection. And let's talk about what this means for Dynasty. If George Pickens lands in Kansas City, well, firstly, I think it's important to update you guys that George Pickens is now my wide receiver 2 in this class. He is my second wide receiver in this class. At the end of the day, I keep going back to watch his film. He's one of my favorite players outside of Jameson, and his film just speaks volumes to me. Like, think about the ways that a wide receiver can win in the NFL. Pickens can do it any way he needs to.
Okay.
Any way he needs to win, he can do it. He's a fantastic route runner. He has great hands. He's good at contested catches. I mean, he can do everything that a wide receiver needs to do. He is by far the smoothest guy in this draft, the most natural wide receiver. I didn't devalue my wide receiver 1 in this class, Jameson Williams, because of an ACL injury. So it feels wrong for me to devalue George Pickens as well in this class because of the same injury. Right. As a prospect, I think there are a few wide receivers in this class that have the entire package of what George Pickens does. And look, at the end of the day, this is really what it came down to, right? At the end of the day, I'm thinking to myself, okay, who has a better shot of being a true alpha wide receiver? Meaning a team drafts him and they think, okay, let's get a complimentary piece, right? Like the Garrett Wilsons, the Chris Olaves of the world, I think they're fantastic. And I think they're going to be super good for fantasy. But I think his team still would say, yeah, we need an X. We need an X on this team. Like out of all those guys, Olave, Wilson, Dotson, George Pickens, who has the best chance of being a true X alpha? And I do think that is George Pickens. I do think he has the best chance of his upside is higher than anyone outside of Jameson Williams in this class. So I love Olave. I love Wilson. I didn't move them down except for one spot because I have Pickens higher than them. But if I'm going Dynasty, I'm betting the house on the upside. And I see a lot more upside with George Pickens. So with that being said, if he lands in Kansas City, lock him in, top 4 pick for me. Lock him in. I know that people are potentially going to disagree with what I'm saying, but I can't ignore the film. And the combine only confirmed what I needed to see confirmed. I mean, we said this so many times. Like, man, if the combine confirms it, who knows what we could be saying about George Pickens. So
yeah, I mean, we said that too. We said, if one of these guys go to an elite quarterback like Green Bay or the Chiefs, I mean, they're arguably a top, like you said, top 4, top 5 pick, because they're going in the late first right now. These guys, like George Pickens, at least right now, is going in the late first in rookie mock drafts. So he's definitely locked into the top 5 moving forward if he lands
in one of those spots. Yeah, and look, draft spot's going to be important because if Olave does fall to Green Bay, right, and Pickens ends up in Jacksonville, I might still take him over. I just love him so much. But you know what I mean? Like, that's going to be important. Landing spots are going to be really important. Christian Watson. Let's talk about Christian Watson. The hype keeps growing, and I don't think it's going to stop because he is a special athlete, Badake. And at the end of the day, I do think we see Watson in the first, if not early second. He's the ultimate athlete, and that hype typically doesn't stop. So let me ask you first. List off some realistic landing spots, and then we'll talk about your one most likely.
Yeah. Once again, as much as I love Christian Watson, I don't know if a team will take him in the first. I mean, maybe the Chiefs if they don't go to George Pickens, depending on which way they go. But I see a more realistic spot of being a second round pick. Maybe that's going to the Chiefs. Maybe that's going to the Green Bay Packers in the second round, or which is my favorite spot, the Browns, in the second round, pick 44. That just feels right. A little bit early in the second. I think it's top 10, top 15 in the second, which feels okay because you know what's going to happen over there with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, okay, I like it. I think he could be first round. Like the hype is like, let's think about it.
The hype is definitely real, but
we're about 3 weeks out from the draft, and we already see him mocked in multiple places in the first round. And it's not as if anything can happen from now until the draft to calm that hype. Do you know what I mean? Like he's the ultimate athlete. We keep talking about it, and he ran the 4.3s. A guy 6'5". I mean, I just think James are going to be super enticed, but I could be wrong. You're right. I'm going to give you some spots.
I think it's tough, just really fast. I think it's tough because like I try to see everyone falling. We thought like last year Elijah Moore.
Totally.
Like, man, we saw Elijah Moore as like he should be a first round pick.
Yeah,
he was the first pick, and I think first or second pick in the second round or something like that. And I was like, damn, like even that is like
true.
That's too low. But I try to be a little bit more. Anyways, I get what you're saying.
I get it. I definitely get it. Like I said, I think the Packers Chiefs are realistic spots in the first. However, Lions make sense as well at the end of the first.
Okay.
And the Jags. I think we're all assuming the Jags aren't going to go wide receiver with their first pick of the second round. But why wouldn't they? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What's stopping the Jags from trying to get a true alpha? And there's a lot of really good receivers here. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Jags at 33 grabbed one of these athletes that they really like. My most realistic spot, again, we only are going to give you one. I do think he ends up in the first. I keep hearing a lot of buzz around Christian Watson to Green Bay. There's a name there's two names I keep hearing associated with the Green Bay Packers: Chris Olave and Christian Watson. I keep hearing those two names in the rumor mills. So you're not going to replace Devontae Adams. However, Watson has two things going for him. Okay, number one, he's fully healthy. So that's important for this Packers team because you really need a full offseason to gain that chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. Chemistry and trust is so big. Watson's healthy, so it could potentially make sense. Number two, the athleticism. Like I said, the hype, the athleticism, the hype. He has all that going for him. There's so many areas that he needs to improve in as a wide receiver. However, the things that you can't teach, the things that are God-given are there. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And look, if he ends up with the Packers, you can lock him in as a top 8 pick for sure.
Yeah.
In dynasty rookie drafts. But
I definitely agree. For me, it has to be the Cleveland Browns once again, second round, 44th pick. This seems beautiful to me. Okay. Yes, they have Amari Cooper. Is Amari Cooper the long-term answer? No, look what they got him for. It wasn't much. And Christian Watson can go on the outside, and even then they can still get some more pieces down the road because that's going to be, at least the thought process is, the way I see it, could be the XY receiver or the slot receiver until Amari Cooper moves away. On the other side, so a more of a wide receiver or a slot receiver until Amari Cooper goes away. And then when Deshaun Watson comes in, because the expectation is that he could get suspended for 8 games, you let him develop. You let him get used to this offense. Then Deshaun comes in. Deshaun will catapult him to that next level. We said we were saying the same thing with the Packers. We're saying the same thing with the Chiefs because he's gonna go play with a high caliber quarterback. Yeah, and he's gonna play with Deshaun Watson. So give him some time. He may not be fantasy relevant right now, but once again, I do believe he will be a first round pick in rookie drafts. Yeah,
I really like where your head is there because there's a certain wide receiver I have landing in Cleveland in a couple picks. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities for them to go wide receiver.
Yeah.
So I like it. All right, Jahan Dotson. While I fully believe in Jahan as a prospect, I could see him falling out of the first round. I genuinely could.
Right.
His size could be a reason that teams opt for other wide receivers in the back half of the first, right? I mean, again, if I am the Packers, if I am the Chiefs and I'm trying to replace my cornerstone wide receiver, am I going to go Jahan Dotson or am I going to go the upside, the enticing prospects of the Pickens and the Christian Watson? So when I think and I'm trying to predict of wide receivers that could fall the first, we both agree Jahan should be a first round pick. We love him.
Absolutely.
But I think he could fall out of the first. Let me give you a couple, and then we'll give our most likely spots. If he goes in the first, I think the Cardinals make the most sense, in my opinion. Round 1, pick 23. You think about the most natural replacement for Christian Kirk. I mean, Jahan can come in and instantly be the wide receiver 2 there. In the second round, I think the Jags could make sense at pick 33, the Colts at pick 42, and the Falcons at pick 43. Is there any other teams that you wanted to mention before we give our most likely spots?
I have, honestly, I think Jahan Dotson will probably have the most success. When I say most success, has the easiest pathway to success, because I think everyone, like you said, everyone's looking for those top big wide receivers. Yeah. And Jahan Dotson is that. I think he's just not the size they probably want him to be. But I do believe the Green Bay Packers in the first, at the end of the first, the Kansas City Chiefs.
So what are you saying there where you say you think he's going to have the most success of what?
He has the clear path to landing in a successful offense.
Because he doesn't need to be the alpha, or like what's the thought process?
Yeah, because he doesn't need to be the alpha, and he's going to go to a quarterback that I believe can catapult him to that next level.
Okay.
So once again, Green Bay Packers, the Chiefs. I see the Texans taking him, which necessarily I guess doesn't help him catapult him, and then the Browns. Once again, if they don't go Christian Watson, then they can go Jahan Dotson, and then keep Amari Cooper for the longer term. But for me, the most realistic spots are the Green Bay Packers and the Chiefs. I just feel like he has to go to one of those teams.
Okay.
In my opinion.
I think like I said, I think you could fall. I just think teams are going to look at upside. I could be wrong, but I'll give you my one most likely spot, and it could be anywhere. He could go in the first. Yeah. I just think there's a potential that he slides. So I know this is technically a slide, but the Colts in the second round at pick 42.
Okay.
Surely they had a plan when they were swapping those seconds with Washington, right? Maybe in their eyes, they were like, look, there's a tier of wide receiver here that we can get that we think is first round talent. And we think some of these guys might slide. And was that the reason for the swap with Washington? Because they were like, there's a tier of wide receivers that we could get here.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Jahan fills a real need for this Colts team. They have a dominant guy on the outside in Michael Pittman, in my opinion. They don't have a dominant number two. They don't have that guy who can move all over the field. They've tried to get that number two for multiple different years, and Campbell and a couple other players, but they weren't the answer. And this is Matt Ryan's Calvin Ridley, if you will. Okay. This is a perfect landing spot for Jahan Dotson. I know it sounds crazy, but I love this spot. I mean, you got Pittman on the outside, then you have Jahan who can play that Calvin Ridley role for Matt Ryan. And if this was to happen in Dynasty, it might sound crazy, but I much prefer this spot over a lot of other spots that he could potentially land in. So his role is clearly defined. He's connected to a quarterback that's already produced multiple top 12 fantasy wide receivers. So I like this spot, but what's your one most realistic spot then?
Yeah, for me, like I said, I think they're interchangeable, honestly, is the Packers and the Chiefs. I said it earlier. He's going to go, in my opinion, to a successful quarterback, a guy that can catapult him to be that true fantasy dominant wide receiver. And yeah, for the Packers, he can be the Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson that Aaron Rodgers used to have back in the day.
Right.
And that will feel okay. And then they can still, for example, if they do get George Pickens, or they do get a Christian Watson, like those big body wide receivers, and then get Jahan Dotson, or vice versa, that feels good. And then the Chiefs. You get rid of Tyreek. Yeah, Tyreek is a speedster, but Jahan Dotson can make the catches, my guy. The route tree is fantastic. I think Jahan Dotson has everything that Tyreek Hill does in a athlete. When I say everything he has, besides speed, I think he can make the catches. He has a great route tree. He has a football IQ. Okay. That's what I mean by everything, not the speed. Everything
I comped Jahan to, I said he was a mixture of Deontay Johnson and Tyler Lockett. So, makes sense. And I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, like, Jahan Dotson's 5'10", I think Tyreek is 5'9", 5'10", around those times. So they're kind of like a similar build, just not the same speed. Yeah. So I think that feels beautiful for me. And it just, yes, you get rid of Tyreek and you get a similar Tyreek. Not, once again, not the speed.
Okay.
The IQ, the route tree, the hands, I think could be fantastic.
Be ready for the YouTube comments.
I know. Be ready. Tyreek, what? No.
All right, Skyy Moore. Let's talk about Skyy Moore, one of my favorite wide receivers in the class. I keep advocating for him all offseason. However, similar to Jahan Dotson, I do think he could slip because of the size. I think second round feels very comfortable for Skyy Moore, in my opinion. Could he be a first round pick? Absolutely. I mean, yeah, he's not 6 foot, but he has the biggest hand size in the class outside of one other guy. And everything that you need measurables wise, he has it. So we'll see. It's funny that I'm saying that he could slide into the second. when 2 months ago, no one was talking about him. And I was like trying to put him on the map. Give me some realistic spots for Skyy, in your opinion.
You know, what's funny is that as much as you had Jahan Dotson going to the Colts, I think the most realistic spot is Skyy Moore going to the Colts. So it's kind of flipped. The Houston Texans, I think really just those two teams, though, that's what feels right to me. The Houston Texans and the Colts. He's going to go to a team that needs him to produce here, right now.
So I also had the Jags with their first pick of the second round. The Falcons, if they don't go wide receiver in the first, maybe they go Skyy in the second. The Browns and the Vikings. I know the Vikings might sound crazy, but Adam is getting older, and you know, you don't pass up on really good wide receiver talent whenever you have a chance. If he falls that far, I'll give you my most likely spot. I said earlier I had a wide receiver going to the Cleveland Browns. This is the wide receiver I have landing in Cleveland, Skyy Moore. Okay, round 2, pick 44. The Browns are a great team all around, so they have a couple needs, but for the most part, I think they can look at this draft as a best player available draft with their picks that they have. So what's really missing? Funnily enough, it's a dominant wide receiver too, like a Jarvis Landry that they just lost, and Skyy Moore. Skyy can give them that and more. But see where I was going there? Now your offense is Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Amari Cooper, Skyy Moore. You can move them all over the field. Donovan Peoples-Jones with the speed, and David Njoku. You grab an impact player when you can. And I think if Skyy Moore is there, they would strongly consider it. You know, this would just solidify Skyy as a first-round pick for me in Dynasty startup drafts. Just think about what Deshaun Watson did for Will Fuller, right? And I think that, respectfully, I think that Skyy Moore is a better overall player than what Will Fuller was. So this is a huge boost if it happens for Skyy Moore's capital. What's your one spot that you would say is most likely?
Yeah, for me, it's the Colts. And I think it's the same thing that you said earlier for Jahan Dotson. This just makes sense. He comes in, he can relieve Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor. He can be that guy that plays on the other side there. This is a good team. Matty Ice, Michael Pittman, Skyy Moore, Jonathan Taylor. It just makes sense. He's the piece that they need. They always needed someone else. You said Paris Campbell and T.Y. Hilton is gone. Skyy Moore can come in and fit in like a piece to a puzzle.
I like it. All right, the last wide receiver is Alec Pierce that we're going to talk about today. Look, it wouldn't surprise me if Alec falls into the first. I have been moving him up.
First. I think that's tough.
No. I was going to say. Let me fully say what I was going to say.
Okay.
I said it wouldn't surprise me. Okay, it wouldn't surprise me. However, I do think the second round is much more realistic, and all of my landing spots are in the second round.
Okay.
But don't be surprised if the Alec Pierce hype grows and you start to see reports that come out. Hey, Alec Pierce could be a first round pick. I think the combine did wonders for his stock. And I think he's a much better wide receiver than people give him credit for. But let's talk about some realistic spots. All of mine are in the second round. The Jets at 35. They don't go wide receiver at 10. The Bears at round 2, pick 48. I'll explain that later.
I like that pick. Okay.
The Cowboys at round 2, pick 56, because they make splash moves. And the Vikings, again, I think they could replace Adam Thielen here in this draft. So is there any other spots that you wanted to point out before we give our most likely?
I have the Saints. I have the Saints taking him in the third round at the end of the third in the 100 and something pick, 98th pick, excuse me. And then the Cardinals in round 3 as well with 87. Those just make sense. He can come in and plug in and play.
All right, I'll give my one most likely spot, and then we'll hear yours. I have the Chicago Bears.
The Bears.
Round 2.
I like
pick
it.
48.
I actually really like it.
You know, they need to lock in a wide receiver with this pick, in my opinion. Okay? They need it. The only thing that matters in Chicago, is the development of Justin Fields. We love Darnell Mooney. Okay, we love him. But he's not enough for this wide receiver room.
Absolutely.
You just lost Allen Robinson. You've not really replaced him, okay? Byron Pringle's a good guy, but he's not the answer. You had a big body like Alec, who has similar speed to Mooney. And now all of a sudden, we have something to grow with in the Shy Town. So for me, it makes a lot of sense for the Bears to add a wide receiver in this draft. And I think Alec Pierce is a very intriguing athlete for them. A lot of things he needs to work on. But great in contested catches, needs to work on his route running, but he's got all the intangibles. And if this was to happen in Dynasty, I have him as my wide receiver 10. He would stay as my wide receiver 10. I don't get more confident in him because of this move, but I do think he's a mid-second round pick at that point in rookie drafts.
Okay. For me, is the Saints. This just feels right to me. Saints.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In the third round. Why? Is because what is Alec Pierce's best trait? He can go up and can catch the ball, and he can catch contested catches. How about that?
Yeah.
Who throws contested catches? Jameis Winston.
Right.
And he's going to be that guy. He's not Mike Williams. He's not Mike Evans. He ain't Chris Godwin. He ain't these big, tall guys. But my guy can go up and catch the ball. We've said it every single time. We preach it. Every single time, bro. Alec Pierce, just go watch the tape. Every single catch he gets, he is holding on to that. He is not dropping it.
The strongest hands in the class.
It is like glue. So if that's going to happen with Jameis and Alec Pierce and Michael Thomas, even though Michael Thomas, he's coming to his last days now.
We don't like Michael Thomas, but yeah.
Alec Pierce can be that guy with Alvin Kamara, and he can play. I think he can play everywhere. Yes, he does need to improve in his route tree. He wins all his one-on-one balls, and the speed wasn't terrible. I think he ran a 4.41, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a good complimentary guy, and if Jameis doesn't work out, he can still grow with this offense, and then they'll get another quarterback. So I like him going to the Saints here, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then they'll probably trade their 2024 first to move up 2 spots in the next year's draft.
Makes sense.
I mean, in the second round. I mean, what the hell are the Saints doing? I hear people on ESPN being like, "This is great." I'm like, "No, it's not. This is not good for the Saints." Anyway. No. Comment down below. Let us know what you think about these landing spots. You think we're being too unrealistic? That's fine. Drop a comment. Let us know.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.